Former National Security Council Chief of Staff and CIA analyst Fred Fleitz, along with Senior Associate of National Security Coalitions at the Heritage Foundation, former National Security Staffer Andrew Harding, and retired Air Force Brigadier General, Newsmax contributor Blaine Holt. Great to see you guys all this morning. So, Fred, start with you. Last night, the president posted on Truth Social about keeping a U.S. military presence around Iran. Ships, aircraft, personnel remaining in place. They're going to get rested. They're going to get rearmed. And he says if agreements aren't upheld, the shooting starts bigger, better, and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. Obviously, he is continuing to keep the pressure on these talks. Is Iran smart enough to believe him?
I don't know. It looks like this is really not a ceasefire, but it's a pause. You may have heard there are probably 3 10-point plans of what Iran agreed to. There's one that President Trump thought was workable. And then there's a fake plan that Iran leaked to the CNN, which has things that Trump would never agree to. The Carolyn Leavitt and the vice president has said is garbage. And I mean, with this level of deception and ill will, it's hard to see how this is going to work out. So far, talks in Pakistan are still scheduled to take place on Saturday. I hope they do, but the Iranians are not acting like they want a deal.
Yeah, Andrew, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, as Fred just mentioned, had to clear up some confusion surrounding this ceasefire proposal. Take a listen.
The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team.
You know, Leavitt says Iran put forward a more reasonable and entirely different plan to the president, which aligns with our own 15-point proposal. We have 2 more weeks to see if this works out. What are your thoughts?
Well, good morning. I think Fred makes some excellent points here, which this is a very fragile ceasefire, and if possible, you want to see it through, but we should also be very skeptical of the Iranians really following through here. I do have concerns to see if Iran's really going to actually follow through on its commitments for a ceasefire here, and for its willingness to see how far it's going to go in actually working with President Trump. That being said, I think President Trump has made very clear he's willing to use U.S. military force to pursue American objectives. Diplomacy has been previously offered to Iran under President Trump before this operation began. Iran rejected it, and then hence we started to see the shooting, as the president referred to just in his recent post here. So while we're in a current ceasefire to see if we can see some type of arrangement, if Iran is not going to open the strait, and we're seeing some signs that has yet to happen, some technical issues with tolls, etc., that is not exactly what the president was expecting here, or we see missiles continue to fire out of Iran, then I think it does show that Iran is not actually ready to come to the table and have a permanent end here, but rather looking for a pause. So I think if anyone can get this deal done, it'll be President Trump and his team, but Iran really needs to come to the table and demonstrate its willingness to do this.
Yeah, Blaine, this reminds me over the last 47 years, all Iran likes to do is delay, 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 while they either continue developing nuclear bombs or rearming their folks. I mean, is this just another delay of the inevitable, or is there actually any hope here that this ceasefire turns into long-term peace?
You know, there's another enemy here that Iran has, that, or the regime has, that they're not talking about. And that's the Iranian people. That's the 90 million people. That's who this messaging, these fake plans, is all aimed at. They're trying to convince these folks there's no need for a revolution. We're still very much in charge. Look at us. We're on the world stage. We're engaging with Trump. We're telling him how it's going to be. We're going to go to Pakistan and sit down, and we're going to talk terms, giving the semblance that all is just fine in a country where anything is but. But as these days roll on, the fabric inside the regime is going to start to deteriorate. They're literally in a trust deficit with each other. But that doesn't mean they're not going to put on the ruse that they have a peer-type voice in these things. I don't think that this ceasefire is going to hold. But I do think that we probably will see some talks because they want their people to see them engaged in something like that. But the straits are not opening up. Been tracking it all through the night. And President Trump may not want to go to those talks if he doesn't see movement in those shipping lanes today.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.